Welcome back to the Physics of Faith podcast. I'm Tim.
I'm Tommy.
And today we're going to wrap up the book of Daniel with Daniel chapter 12. Now, if you've been following along, you know that chapter 12 really started in chapter 10.
Right, yeah.
Chapter 10 sets up the prophecies of chapter 11, and then the prophecies are kind of ended and not explained, but kind of wrapped up in chapter 12. So all of this happens in one go.
Right.
All right, so let's look at chapter 12, verses 1 through 4. Now at that time, Michael, the great prince who stands guard over the sons of your people, will arise, and there will be a time of distress such as never occurred since there was a nation until that time. And at that time, your people, everyone who is found written in the book, will be rescued. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the ground will awake, those to everlasting life, but the others to disgrace and everlasting contempt. And those who have insight will shine like the glow of the expanse of heaven, and those who led the many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. But as for you, Daniel, keep these words secret and seal up the book until the end of time. Many will roam about, and knowledge will increase. All right, we're going to stop there for a moment. So he starts by saying, now at that time, Michael will stand guard over your people. He's talking about the events at the end of Daniel 11, right? So we're talking about the end times, right? And Michael stands up, Michael is often associated with spiritual warfare.
Yeah. He's
associated as the one who is the defender of Israel.
Yeah.
But he kind of expands that here because he says he stands guard over the sons of your people. There will be a time of distress. He says that has never occurred since there was a nation until that time, and at that time your people, everyone who is found written in the book. Right? So we're grafted into that vine. So at this point, we're not just talking about the people of Israel. We're talking about all of those who've put their faith in Christ, right? Something else that I kind of jumped out to me as we were reading through this, something to remember, Michael is the true opposite of Satan.
Yeah.
Not God.
Right.
Right? Michael and Satan are angelic beings. Jesus is not. Jesus is God.
Yeah.
Right? But these two are angelic beings who are fighting.
Yeah, they're like the same. They're like the same kind of person, but on opposites. Yeah, as you mentioned, there is no opposite of God, right. And there is no opposite of Jesus. I mean, they're the creator, and they were there at the beginning. God created Michael. Yep. God created the Antichrist. Now, he didn't create him as the Antichrist from the beginning. He was an angel, just like Michael was, who fell and took many other angels with him.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's Satan, not necessarily the Antichrist.
Yeah.
But,
yes, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I mean, we're going to get into some really deep
eschatological. No, you're right. I was saying, I meant Satan when I said that, but sorry. I'm getting off my...
No, there's a lot of villains to remember.
There are, yeah.
So he says that there's going to be a time of trouble that befalls Israel and the chosen people. It's going to surpass everything that they've seen up to that point.
Yeah.
So this 160,000 that were, like the 80,000 that were murdered by Antiochus IV, 40 sold into slavery, 40 kept there in slavery, like that sounds bad.
Yeah.
This is going to be worse.
Right.
We still have Rome to come in, right? Everything that we've seen, it's going to be worse than that, right?
Yeah.
And Revelations 12, 13 through 17 even tells us about Satan's fury against God's people. Satan hates the people of God, and so he is unleashing his fury as best as he can.
Yeah.
But there is a promise of deliverance in this text. The deliverance is for those who are found written in the book. And there will be a resurrection. And interestingly, though, that resurrection is not just for the righteous, but it's also for the unrighteous.
Yeah.
The catch here is that the righteous are resurrected into eternal life. The latter, or the unrighteous, they are resurrected into eternal shame. Right? So here we are seeing the theology of an eternal punishment or an eternal torment for those who have rejected Christ.
Yeah.
All right. So there are the wise ones who shine and these are those who have accepted the wisdom of God. And like the stars are those who lit the way for others or helped others turn to God, right? So those who have done their best to fulfill the Great Commission, right? And he tells Daniel to keep the words secret and shut them away for the appropriate time, indicating that this message is about something that's going to come at the end. It's not for you to be overly concerned about today.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. All right. Any thoughts on that?
Not on that specifically, no.
Okay. All right. So this one is very short, so we're gonna be wrapped up really quickly here, but let's read the rest of this and then we'll talk it through a little bit. So verses 5 through 13. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, two others were standing, one on this bank of the stream and the other on that bank of the stream. And someone said to the man dressed in linen who was above the waters of the stream, "How long will it be until the end of these wonders?" And I heard the man dressed in linen who was above the waters of the stream as he raised his right hand and his left toward heaven and swore by him who lives forever that it would be for a time, times, and half a time. And as soon as they finish smashing the power of the holy people, all those events will be completed. But as for me, I heard, but did not understand. So I said, "My Lord, what will be the outcome of these events?" And he said, "Go your way, Daniel, for these words will be kept secret and sealed up until the end time. Many will be purged, cleansed, and refined, but the wicked will act wickedly. And none of the wicked will understand, but those who have insight will understand. And from the time that the regular sacrifices is abolished and the abomination of desolation is set up, there will be 1,290 days. Blessed is the one who is patient and attains to the 1,335 days. But as for you, go your way to the end. Then you will rest and rise for your allotted portion at the end of the age." All right. So starting in verse 5 there, we see there's two beings there. There's two angels there, and then there's the man in linen who was mentioned back in Daniel 10.
Right.
And that man is standing above the waters. Mm-hmm. And the other two are on either side of the water.
Yeah.
So we stated before that this is probably an angelic being, although some have noted that he resembles Jesus as described in Revelation.
Right.
However, I think there's some telling things here about how he behaves. So he's in chapter 10, I think he says he was sent by God. Mm-hmm. Now Jesus was sent by God too. So I mean, there could still be some overlap there, but
yeah.
But he also swears on him who lives forever. Mm-hmm. Okay, so who is he? Is he swearing upon himself? Like, how would that be? So,
yeah,
I think it's a little bit beside the point, but it's interesting. I find it interesting, right? So I also can't help but see the triangular concept on this, like almost like almost like a trinity.
Yeah,
because you've got one on this side of the bank, on one bank, one on the other, and then one in the middle above.
Yeah.
And like in my mind, I can see it as this like Renaissance painting.
Yeah, sure.
If I could paint, it would look really cool.
Yeah.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I love the imagery here, even the terrible imagery in the book of Daniel.
Yeah.
And so they ask him in the linen, "Hey, when will this take place?" So the man in linen swears by him who lives forever that it would be a time, times, and a half a time. So again, 3.5 years roughly, or 3.5 sets of whatever our measurement is.
Yeah.
And he says that it will finish when they finish smashing the power of the holy people. That's when these events are completed, right? Now, when we talk about this time period, this 3.5 time period, this was mentioned in Daniel 7:25 for the time that's given to the Antichrist, as that was back in Daniel 7:25 when we did that. And Daniel 9:27, we talked about it, is the period of time of the breaking of the Antichrist's covenant with Israel and the erection of the abomination of desolation and the establishment of Jesus' kingdom.
Right.
This time frame is mentioned in Revelation 11:2 as a period in which the holy city will be tread underfoot by the Gentiles. It's mentioned in Revelation 11:3 as a period in which the ministry of the two witnesses will be active. So that's another thing in all of itself.
Yeah.
This time frame is mentioned in Revelation 12:6 and 14 as when Israel is being preserved by God in a wilderness. And this time frame is mentioned in Romans 13:5 as the duration of the Antichrist's authority to rule, persecute, and blaspheme. So, this is a consistent theme that we see, and this is really what we kind of describe as the tribulation.
Yeah.
Right? This is the time of tribulation. It seems that Satan's in charge, the Antichrist is in charge, and they're running the show, and they are specifically trying to crush God's holy people.
Right.
And it comes to an end when that power of those holy people are truly crushed.
Yeah.
Which is not inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so maybe that's why Daniel doesn't understand.
Yeah.
Right. And so he asks for clarity. Right. And the man responds to Daniel and basically tells Daniel, look, you need to be content with what you have seen and heard. And ask for no more. Like, he tells him to go your way, which this phrase is basically telling him to be about today's business.
Right.
Don't think any more about these things.
Yeah.
Put it aside. Right. And
you're on a need to know basis, and you don't need to know.
you don't even know.
Yeah.
He said, but when the appointed time comes, it'll make sense.
Yeah.
But for now, seal it up. Right. And he tells Daniel, and this is a repeated phrase that he used before, that many will be purified and refined, leading to this time. Right.
Yeah.
But he also points out that wickedness is going to abound despite that.
Yeah.
So then we get to in verse 11, he starts then giving him time frames.
An actual thing, a
Yeah.
reference point. Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, from the time of the abomination of desolation, there will be 1,290 days until the return of Christ. So Jesus also points to this in Matthew 24:15. And then he mentions 1,335 days. Now, when he talks about the 1,335 days, this is not necessarily thought of as being an additional 1,335 days,
Yeah.
but as the 1,290 days previously mentioned plus 45 days.
Right.
Right. And the concept here is that those 45 days may be the time period in which Jesus is judging the nations.
Yeah.
Right. So he's basically saying if you can endure till that, till the end of that judgment, then you're going to be blessed.
Yeah.
Right. And that judgment is somewhat described in Matthew 25:31 through 46. So again, he tells Daniel to go his way, which is to say, focus on what God has set before you today, and your allotted inheritance, it's all going to become clear at the end. Right. So you're going to get your portion at the end of the age, which means that it's not really promised to Daniel in this life to have understanding or his salvation even, but it will come at the end of the age.
Right. And, we don't know when this is all going to occur. This could all begin tomorrow. Those sevens, those 3.5s, those could be days, those could be weeks, those could be years, those could be centuries. We really don't know. And as I think I've said on here before, I'm a financial advisor, and one of the things that when we look at is you don't know you're in a recession until you're out of the recession. And when you're looking at the graph of the market, you don't know when the bottom is until you're past it,
Right.
And so just like this, we don't know what the market's going to do tomorrow. We don't know what this is tomorrow, and even though we have the roadmap ahead of us, we're not really truly going to understand what that was until it's over,
Right.
And so I think you made a good point earlier about we don't have to concern ourselves and get soaked up on, is that the Antichrist? Is that the Antichrist? Is that the Antichrist? We as he says to Daniel, go your way. Live tomorrow.
Yeah. I've heard somebody put it this way. We should be focused more on the Lord's returning than
Yeah.
on the Antichrist's appearance.
Right.
Right? If we're focused on what God is doing and who God is and serving him,
Yeah.
right? Again, it's going after the real thing instead of focusing too much on the counterfeit thing.
Yeah.
Like it really changes the way we approach things.
Right.
You and I talked about this with Thessalonians. When Paul writes to Thessalonians, one of the issues that they're having is some of them are just going to be in busybodies and not really working.
Yeah.
Because they believe the end is coming,
Yeah.
and they're not really concerned about doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's the point,
Right.
right? And he's like, no, you need to go to work.
Yeah.
You need to be about your business, right?
Yeah.
I think it's probable, and I could be really wrong about this, so take this with a grain of salt. When we went back to Daniel chapter 9 and talks about the seven periods of 70, right?
Yeah.
And you get through like 69 of those, and that's when Jesus shows up, right?
Yeah.
And then like there's like one more period of 7,
Yeah.
right? And 3.5 of them are supposed to occur. It says there's a break or a pause, and then the other 3.5 occur.
Yeah.
Like it seems likely to me we're in that break,
Yeah.
and that's never defined.
Right.
Like that time frame is never defined. It's never really given to us.
Yeah.
There, and so like when certain things happen, it very clearly starts a clock,
Yeah.
right? But we need to stop being so focused on looking for that starting point. Instead, we need to be concerned about today.
Because God gives us this whole roadmap, and yes, we know what the timeline is, but we don't have anything to say or do in that timeline.
Right.
It's like, when this happens, I want you to do this.
Right.
It's not one of those like, hey, I'll call you when I'm 10 minutes away, put the pizza in the oven.
Right.
It's not like that. It's this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And just act like that's tomorrow, or
Yeah.
or because as I was saying before, and I don't think I put this really well, like, yeah, we he can give us that timeline, but even if we knew the exact days, there's nothing that we should be doing different that day versus this day.
Right.
As when we're talking about, we need to act like, yeah, this can end soon, and as you say in Thessalonians, don't think it's like, oh yeah, it's going to happen tomorrow, so we don't have to worry about it. Like, there are people that need to know the truth,
Mm-hmm.
and so we need to be like, imagine, and I've heard people probably say this in conversations, like, if you knew you were going to die in a month, what would you do? You probably wouldn't go to work. You probably wouldn't do this. You would be telling everybody you know about Jesus, about that you love them. You would be finishing your time, and that's how we need to be acting, is understanding and knowing that your life will end, my life will end, their life will end, and they need to know the truth about Jesus before their life ends.
Yeah. So I think for a book that is half filled with visions of the end times that we can't fully understand or comprehend,
Right.
we still find a lot of practical application in the book of Daniel.
Yeah.
Right? We see how to act when you are living in a world that is not yours.
Yeah.
We were not destined for this kingdom. We are destined for God's kingdom.
Yeah.
But we're in Babylon. We see how to act. We see how to behave. We see how to serve. We see how to pray.
Yeah.
And we're given like a very clear instruction of, I've set all things in motion. Trust me.
Yeah.
Yes, the end's going to come. It's going to look like this in a sense. Don't be concerned about when it is.
Yeah.
Just know that it's coming and know that it will happen, right? Focus on God. So there is so much practical application in the book of Daniel. So I'm glad we did this. This was the first book we jumped into the Old Testament on.
Yeah.
And, with some of our upcoming episodes after this, we might take a few new approaches on how we approach our Bible study episodes. But
Yeah.
we hope that you guys continue that journey with us. We hope that you continue to listen or catch us on YouTube. Not for our glory, but for God's glory. We hope that it takes you further with His Word and that you don't stop here. You go pick up this Bible. If you've listened to this and have not gone in and read Daniel for yourself, you have done yourself a disservice.
Yeah.
So go read go read the Bible, go read the book of Daniel, and pick up some commentaries, add some things with it, but do this work for yourself.
For sure.
All right. I think that about does it. So Yeah.
Yeah. No, as you mentioned, I'm excited about our next kind of series, as we're going to kind of be taking a little bit different view of things, and I'm excited about it.
Yeah, me too. All right. Well, we'll see you all there. Hopefully you'll be excited too. Thanks again for listening, and we'll catch you next time.